Make sure it's going properly before I do anything. Just a simple few questions and things like that. Just to start, just a simple bit if you want to tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Scotland, stayed until I was 4, so I'm Scots by birth, but then we moved down to Maidstone way, to a little village called Ottham, and then from there we went, when the war started, we went to the Midway Towns. So that's where we started from originally. What else can I tell you about that?
Well, I'll start with the simple first one. And what is your most prominent memory?
Oh, I think that screaming bomb I was telling you about, yes. Where it was all down in the cellar, I think in 1940, and there was an air raid on, and they dropped a screaming bomb, the old bombs with the like whistle thing, screamer on there, and we was all down the cellar, and we swear it was going to land on us, and it went over, just missed us and hit the bus depot in Gillingham. And that was the scariest part of the war, although we did have a couple of houses bombed in our same street, but for some reason that didn't seem to worry us. Not like that screaming bomb did. So that was about the worst part of the war for me, but do you want me to tell you about my grandmother? One of the things, we had my grandmother staying with us in 1944. She came over to see us on the Sunday, and as she came out to catch a bus to go home, there was a Spitfire chasing a doodlebug, and he was machine gunning it. We were standing in the road and watching this going on, thinking nothing about the danger. He was machine gunning it, trying to bring it down, and he couldn't do it. So when he got just past where we was, he tipped it, got his wing under and tipped it down. So down it went, stopped going. We all cheered. We thought it landed in the Midway. So when my gran got home, it only landed on her road. The whole road was wiped out. So she must be the only lady that ever cheered when watching a bomb going into her house.
That's not too
so that was quite scary. And another time we was I was in Crayford on Saturday, and with a friend of mine, all of a sudden we seemed to be knocked to the ground. For some reason, like an earthquake, it shot onto the ground, and then all of a sudden we had as the V2 went over the top. It had landed before we even heard it. That was the most scariest one. And another time, another wartime reflection I've got, we was helping the farmers picking up potatoes and that, like I used to in those days, in Cliff there, and we were just watching these dog fights going on overhead. There was shooting each other. We were just standing in the field watching all this, like never knowing thinking where the bullets are going to land. And because then one of them got shot down, we all cheered, didn't we? Then we found out it was one of ours. Landed in Cliff, it both got killed, so we wasn't very happy about that.
How did these memories make you feel at the time?
Excited, funny enough. We was only like the age when I was about 8 or 9 when the war started, and funny enough, it would seem to give an excitement to you. Like, in fact, when the war finished, we felt quite disappointed. Nothing exciting was going to happen. Even at school, our teachers, I remember one of our teacher, he was one of the old First World War soldier, and he'd got injured. He'd lost part of his leg in the First World War, so he wasn't called up again. And he more or less thought the Germans were going to win. And he used to say to us, well, you lads will be all right, because with blonde hair and blue eyes, he said, you'll be in the youth movement. He said, us brown-eyed people, we've been in the labour camps. So that was another, well, I think one of the scariest things when I think about it, although we didn't seem to bother at the time, my mother always threatened if the Germans invaded, she was going to gas us all. So that was nice to think about, where you're going to sleep overnight, wasn't it? But whether she would have ever done it, but they'd heard so much of what the Germans was doing in France and places, that that was what she said she was going to do, so it was lucky they didn't invade.
Why are these memories so prominent to you?
It's some of these things you never forget. Well, it's strange really. I mean, I can't remember what I had for dinner last week, but I can remember my first day at school at 4, and I can remember going over the 4th bridge at 4 years old. You know, I mean, that's going back nearly 80 years now, so 79 years, so it's good going, isn't it? Yeah, I can't remember last Tuesday. No. So that's the way the memory affects you. You can remember, and these, like the wartime memories, I think they're embedded in your skin really. You used to go out every morning hunting for shrapnel, lovely shiny shrapnel that could come down, you know, and used to take it all in and keep it till it was rusty, and then you'd throw it out then. Or take it to school and swap it for, because there's all like shell shrapnel and gun shrapnel, it's like 2 different ones. So you used to swap it with each other to get that. That was quite exciting to do things like that. And say, when the war finished, that was all over. That was a bit of a letdown, we thought, in those days. But I was 14 when the war ended, and I was fortunate because I just started work at 14, and I've been at work a fortnight, and the war finished, so I got a day's holiday, which I thought was quite good. All right, this is 2 weeks work, a day's holiday, because the end of the war. So that's, and the night the war ended, we went to Chatham Town Hall, climbed up in the trees, me and my friend, and watched all the celebrations outside Chatham Town Hall. And that was quite good. All the Navy and Army and Air Force was all cheering and jogging about, and we was up in the trees watching all this stuff, you know. Yeah, everyone seemed to be having a good time, so yeah, that's the main memories of the war. And of course we used to go, in those days, for some reason the farmers used to come to school and take us in lorries to help on the land, get volunteers to help on the land. And we used to all go in the backs of these lorries, all stand up. You wouldn't allow it these days, would they? Stand up, and they used to take you out and used to go like weeding or whatever you could to help the farmers. And then we thought that was great, better than being at school, wouldn't it? We used to volunteer for that, me and my friend. And of course, another thing we used to go hop picking during the war, and used to go down to a little place called Seddon near Canterbury, and you live in the huts for about a month or 5 weeks for the hopping. And the best thing was that, because although it went into, most times it went into September, you was allowed to have time off of school to carry on hopping. So we thought that was great, getting an extra fortnight's holiday. So that's some of the vivid memories I can remember. And because my father was, unfortunately, he was at war all the time. We only ever saw him about every 3 years. And, you know, so we never really got to know our fathers because he was 30 years in the Navy. And the first thing we used to ask him when we did see him was, "Hello Dad, when are you going back again?" Which sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? So that's my main things through the war.
Do you think they're so prominent in your mind because of their unique?
Sorry?
Do you think the memories are so prominent in your mind because they're unique compared to normal?
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose everyone's got their own memories. I mean, like when I started on the work on the farm after the war, there was all the land girls out there, and we had one chap there. It was that sent him there from hospital. He had been captured in Singapore and was on that railway, you know, that Japanese railway, and they sent him to sort of get back into normal, and he'd never talk about it much at all, but he was really very thin, and it must have affected him all his life. The only thing he did say, the first day they was captured, he said that they had to bow the officers, and he said, there's a little Cockney chap there. He said, I'm not bowing to anyone, I only bow to the king. So they took him out the front and cut his head off straight away with the sword. So he said, because all the rest started bowing, didn't they? But that was his first memory of the Japanese, that was. Which was a bit nasty, wasn't it? But then we had different times I had worked with prisoners of war, German prisoners of war, and they seemed very nice people. You know, when I was on the farms, we used to work, because although the war had ended, they were still over here to about 2 or 3 years after the war, working on the farms. And they was quite normal people, you see. It's strange, really. They think all that business of killing each other, you stick someone in a uniform, give them a gun and tell them to kill the Germans, they go and do it, don't they? That means, yet when you get to know these people, they like us, don't they? They probably feel the same. So that's the basic memories. That's the sort of things that stick out in your mind.
Which do you think is stronger, one of your memories of the war, or of one of your sort of family memories?
I think the memories of the war are most prominent. For some reason they seem to be burnt into your memory. I mean,